Coming up, I'm going to be talking about a Disney show being cancelled, plus also an update on the Kane Chronicles Disney Plus series rumour, and also an update on Snow White. But before we go any further, make sure you do hit that subscribe button to keep up with the latest Disney Plus news. Hi, it's Roger here from What's On at DisneyPlus.com. It's time for a quick Disney Plus news roundup. Let's first off talking about a Disney Plus cancellation, which is going to be pretty freaking scary. Now, you've got to be a bit careful how you say that one. But this show will not be returning for a second season. The show originally debuted last year on Disney Plus and also on the Disney Channel. It's been over a year since the show was initially released, and while it ended on a cliffhanger, we haven't yet heard anything more about a potential second season. However, this past week, one of the main stars from the show, Ileana Sue, confirmed on social media that the show has been cancelled after one season. When she was asked by a fan about the second season, she simply replied, "Unfortunately, no season 2. Now, I'm not going to lie, I wasn't really expecting to see a second season of this show. It's been way too long for it not to, especially with kids shows. They need to kind of rush these through as fast as they can because obviously the kids are getting older. And I think that's definitely telling, we're over a year later, haven't heard anything more about second seasons or anything like that. And obviously as well, Disney are cutting back on how much content it makes, especially if it's not getting the viewership that it needs. Not just on Disney Channel, but on Disney Plus, etc. Now you could turn around and say, they didn't advertise it enough or they didn't do anything. But generally with these kind of shows, they need to get audiences over time, and by the looks of it, this show just didn't kind of click with audiences, and therefore they want to invest their money in something that might work a little bit better. But I'd love to know, would you like to see a second season of the show? What do you think of this cancellation? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And as always, when anything gets cancelled, if you haven't seen it or you haven't finished watching it, do so as quickly as you can, because Disney has a tendency to pull those cancelled shows, especially one season ones. So I'll do that pretty quick if I were you. Shifting gears now, let's now talk about Snow White, a very controversial live-action remake, which is set to arrive in cinemas in March of 2025. Originally, it was supposed to come out this year in March, but they bumped it back a year. Because of the pandemic and the strikes and everything that was going on, they decided to bump it back. But there's a whole other issue, which I'll get into in a minute. But this past week, Rachel Zegler has confirmed that they have just finished doing all the reshoots on the film in London. So obviously now that gives them time to do all the post-production, all the visual effects and stuff that they need to do, that they would have been working on that anyway, but just gives them a bit of time. Now, whether or not this film gets bumped back again, who knows, depending on how well those reshoots have done. I wouldn't be at all surprised if at the upcoming D23 event in August that we will get to see maybe a teaser trailer for this. We got to see a few little bits of it 2 years ago at the D23 Expo, but maybe they'll put that one out to the public. I kind of in some ways think that if they can put out a little teaser trailer, it might help calm down thoughts about this movie, because this is one of the most controversial films we've seen for a long time. Over the years, we've seen issues with it. Obviously, there were some interviews with Rachel Zegler that kind of got picked up, turned around in terms of clips of like taking off and changing some of the context. Though some of the stuff she said also just didn't gel very well, and just overall she's just not been well received online, and this has caused backlash. But also there was big backlash about the fact that they've changed the story, taken out the whole love interest stuff, trying to modernize it a little bit as well. Then there was a whole thing of some set photos leaking out onto the internet, and it was deemed that these were magical bandits, and then that kind of woke up everything of going on, of people looking at it and saying they've got rid of the dwarfs and they brought in these array of people of different nationalities and stuff, and it was just like, it just broke the woke brigade just went nuts over this, and there's been a lot of negativity about this film. I'll be honest, even I was like, I don't know if they should carry on with this film. There is so much, you just see so much negativity about this film before it's even, we've seen one thing. So Disney, when they announced they delayed it, they did put out an image showing off the dwarfs, kind of indicating that it is very much in keeping with the original story. Now, I do suspect that they have gone back and they have toned down a load of stuff, made it much more likely. They might say this was how it was always going to be. I'm sure that Disney has listened to the feedback that was going on, because it was, if they didn't and they carried on with the way they were going to do it, they were asking for problems. So I do think they've toned it back and made some changes and stuff. So all the rewrites and reshoots and stuff will probably help with doing that one. Yeah, I think this is one movie that could kind of, I still think it's going to cause some problems when it comes out, because it's not going to be like the original movie. But if they can sway it back to being a little bit more like that original animated film, they might have a chance of saving it. I don't think it's going to be a $1 billion movie or anything, but who knows? The only way that they're going to be able to counteract it is, in some way, is to kind of go, I think, back to being more traditional. But this movie is definitely controversial. It's definitely in that kind of same thing like with The Little Mermaid, where it just got so much negativity before it came out, and it's an uphill battle for this film. So it's going to have to be really, really good to be able to kind of do that. It can't just be okay. It's going to have to be excellent to kind of get out of this kind of negativity spiral. But let me know, are you excited about the Snow White remake? Let me know in the comments below. Shifting gears now, let's now talk about a Percy Jackson type series, because it has been reported all over the internet over the last week or so that Disney Plus was working on a new series of the Kane Chronicles, which is a kind of a spin-off of the Percy Jackson books. Now, earlier this year, Netflix ended up giving back the rights. They had the rights to turn it into a series. They weren't moving forward with it. And this kind of then, I think, left the door open for the fact that Disney could then come in and do it. However, the production company that actually makes the series and runs all the things that is part of Uncle Rick's company, they actually put out a little note on Threads kind of confirming that this is not the case and they don't yet have a deal, but they're in talks, etc. Now, I wouldn't be at all surprised if there is talks going on, and especially going off the success of that first series of Percy Jackson. And it would make sense in some ways that maybe when Percy Jackson has completely wrapped up its 5 seasons, which it's still going to take a long time to do, then maybe if they continue to be really popular, then they move then into a Kane Chronicle ones. I kind of think, to be honest, that the people that are creating the Percy Jackson series need to be focused on that and not in getting distracted by doing too many other projects and too many other things. I think that's been some of the issues. Let them get this one done, and also they're just going to have to rush through trying to get all of those seasons done while the kids are still young enough to make it. And then personally, I would be like, right, when that's done, give it maybe a year or 2 off and then come back with the Kane Chronicles after that and kind of continue that success rather than trying to do too much at once. But again, nothing has been signed. These Kane Chronicles rumors are just that. Nothing has been signed on Disney Plus front, so just be aware of it. But let me know, would you like to see a Kane Chronicles series on Disney Plus? Let me know in the comments below. Let's now talk about what's new on Disney Plus today. Obviously, with the start of a new month, that does mean that you get a lot of content from Hulu. There's a load of movies that got added in the US, including Aliens, there's Predators, and also Sonic the Hedgehog. So some great stuff there to watch. But also, more importantly, if you are a Disney Plus subscriber in the US and also in Australia and New Zealand, you got a ton of Sharkfest content, including a new Shark Beach documentary with Anthony Mackie, who plays Captain America, and a load of other bits and pieces. So if you enjoy shark documentaries, lots of stuff to watch. Unfortunately, the international release of National Geographic stuff is a little bit hit and miss. Personally, I still think they need to sort this out. Get it out of Disney Plus and then put it out on the linear channels afterwards and just make things a little bit more global. But yes, if you like sharks, lots of stuff to watch. Let's now jump into our question of the day. This question comes from Beth, who asks, "Hi Roger, if possible, could you explain to me how free services exist, like Tubi, when they are only generating money through advertising, not subscriptions? I know they stream older content, not new movies and shows. However, Disney can't seem to add much if their own legacy content, yet they're generating income for both advertising and subscriptions." I hope this makes sense. So generally these streaming services like Tubi, etc. and Pluto, they make their money through advertising. So they put content on there, people watch those shows, and therefore they get money from it. Now, because it's free, generally more people will watch it because they don't have to pay for it. There's a big growing trend of people shifting over to things like Tubi and Pluto because trying to cut back on how much streaming providers they're spending out on, and therefore the growth of these is coming. There is, unfortunately, probably way too many of them. That we're seeing lots of different streaming services closing down, merging, etc. Even the free ones, there's just not enough viewership to demand to get the advertising. And so obviously, like with Disney Plus, you're paying a subscription. I think the major players, the big studios, they want best of both worlds. They want you to pay a little bit and also get ads. They want the best of both. The free ones are trying to just break in and get it. This has been how, generally most television channels have worked. Things like, especially linear television, like here in the UK, like things like Channel 4, ITV, have always been funded by adverts rather than us paying or anything like that. And it's kind of the same way, but they have to get a big enough viewership in order to make it worth it. Now also, they are not spending out the same amount of money. They are picking up old films, old shows. They are paying a lot less they're not picking up the big stuff. You're not seeing major new expensive shows like House of the Dragon or Bear or, you know, The Acolyte. Anything like that is not dropping onto these free services because, you know, they're not in that same zone. Now they could be if they got big enough, but I don't think they probably ever will do. But most of this, again, it comes down to how many people are watching and how much money they can make for it. And also their outgoings are much lower because they might do the odd one here or there, but generally they don't spend a huge amount on original content. Some of them that have been around for a long time, I've been doing this, but again, it's just advertising, and that's kind of how we're kind of getting back to television, because trying to do this ad-free format, the costs were just going to continue to go up, and we were only going to subscribe to so many. There is a market for free content, and I think we're definitely seeing them come in there and taking that, but the question is, are some of the big studios going to change what they're doing? You know, I don't know. It's going to be very tricky to see where they go. I think there is too many of them, and we're going to see some shifts in the things, but there's just a lot of money to be made through advertising, and that's pretty much where it comes from. Subscription fees help obviously bring in a big chunk of money, but we're really seeing now with them all that they need both in order to kind of sustain it, because that's what they were getting before. When it was linear television, cable TV, they were getting money from advertising and they were getting money from you paying each month, and that's really what the big boys want you to, they want that to continue. You pay them and they get ads, so that's the kind of the way they want it. They don't want to double dip. But let us know what you think about this in the comments below. If you've got a great question, drop it in there as well. If it's cool, I will pick it out for tomorrow's video. And on that note, guys, thank you very much. See you guys soon. Latest.